Welcome to this explainer. Have you ever actually stopped to just notice how reality absolutely refuses to glitch? Despite the massive scale of the cosmos and the sheer overwhelming complexity of life, physical laws apply everywhere at all times without breaking down. Today we're taking on the dense, mind-bending topic of how reality intrinsically holds itself together. It's so easy to look around and see a million disconnected things, but the truth is, there's a profound underlying structure ensuring everything operates consistently. We're going to decode the very framework of universal coherence.
So, I really want you to ask yourself a profound question. How does the universe hold together? When you really sit and think about it, with all the chaos, the infinite quantum interactions, and the localized events happening every single millisecond, how does the universe enforce its own consistency? How does it prevent itself from just falling apart into logical contradictions? Well, the answer lies in the deeply fascinating structural source material we're unpacking today. Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a great logical roadmap today to guide us through this complex cosmology. 1. The multiplex unity principle. 2. Two views of containment. 3. The flow of coherence. And finally 4. A self-resolving paradox. Let's jump in.
All right, Section 1, the Multiplex Unity Principle.
The multiplex unity principle, or just MU for short, is absolutely fascinating. It defines the fundamental relationship holding between unity and multiplicity. Essentially, we're looking at the absolute minimum, most general, informational configuration of reality. We're stripping away all the surface details of physics and just looking at the pure structural bedrock of existence. Think of it like a giant puzzle. MU is the ultimate connection between the universe as one single unified whole and its variegated contents, all those countless diverse pieces existing inside it. It's literally the structural bridge between the one and the many, explaining how the overarching system simultaneously gives rise to and interacts with its individual parts.
Moving right along to Section 2, two views of containment.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it contrasts two entirely different ways of thinking about how things are contained. On the left, we've got topological inclusion. This is basically our standard everyday intuition, right? The contents are physically inside the physical universe. But over on the right, we have descriptive inclusion. And this completely flips the script. It states that the universe is descriptively inside its contents. To wrap your head around this, just think of a massive computer simulation. The digital avatars are topologically inside the game environment, sure, but the fundamental rules of that environment are descriptively coded into the internal logic of the avatars themselves. So we're physically in the universe, but the universe's rules, its structural syntax, are actually internally occupied by us as acquired state. Wild, right?
And that brings us right to the core of dual self-containment. The universe basically includes its contents by acting as what's called a syntactic unisect. Now, a syntactic unisect is just a shared set of fundamental structural rules that literally intersect and govern everything within the system. It's the global medium. But, and here's the kicker, simultaneously, we, the contents, contain the universe through our specific event histories. And because we inevitably interact with each other, those individual histories become deeply entangled. So from one angle, the global syntactic medium is enforcing its rules on everything, but from the other angle, our coherent internal syntaxes are actively recognizing and transforming that medium on a local level. Through this continuous dual loop, the universe literally enforces its own consistency.
All right, on to Section 3, the flow of coherence.
Now, before we map out that flow, we really need to nail down a crucial term here, syndephenesis. This is a dense concept, but it's defined as a paradox identifying difference with sameness. What does that actually mean? Well, essentially, any two completely distinct objects, say a massive burning star and a tiny cold rock, are inherently unified because they are both expressions of the exact same underlying spatial and physical syntax. You literally cannot have difference without a shared medium to define that difference against. So the multiplex unity principle is basically syndephenesis exploding onto a spatial-temporal level across the entire universe.
Okay, let's walk through exactly how this cycle of coherence operates step by step. Step 1. Coherence flows from the global syntax, those overarching structural rules, down into local content by way of global topological containment. Step 2. This flow actively enforces a baseline unity across all these incredibly diverse locales. And step 3, it flows right back to the global syntax in these multiple entangled streams via the cross-transduction of content. Now, cross-transduction is absolutely crucial here. It means that as local objects interact, acting as state, they generate brand new information. This new localized info is essentially read by the overarching system, thereby updating the conditions of the global medium, the syntax. So syntax becomes state, and the changing state feeds back to become the new syntax.
I really want to emphasize that this flow isn't static. Not at all. This continuous exchange is the actual engine, the very mechanism that ensures our universe remains completely coherent and consistent as it evolves. This is exactly why reality doesn't just spontaneously break or fragment into incompatible pieces as time moves forward and complexity shoots up. That reciprocal feedback loop between syntax and state acts as a massive stabilizing engine, making sure our evolving universe stays intrinsically grounded rather than just decaying over time.
Which brings us to Section 4, a self-resolving paradox. Let's move to this and see how it builds, because things like open-ended mathematical type theory often run into this problem of infinite informational stratification. Basically, to prove one level is consistent, you need a higher meta level, and then another one above that, and it just goes on forever without ever finding closure. But the MU structure totally sidesteps this infinite logical regress. It actually resolves its own paradox in situ, meaning right there on the spot, by dual stratification. So instead of this infinite, never-ending tower, the system stratifies into just two necessary layers, the general global syntax and the specific local state. These two layers mutually validate and contain each other, which provides immediate structural closure exactly where the apparent paradox happens.
Reality is a self-resolving paradox. I just want to let that sink in for a second. Because the mu structure can be seen as the structural resolution of the very paradox it describes, this simple sentence is really the ultimate conclusion of both the multiplex unity principle and syntophionisis. Reality doesn't need any outside help. It doesn't need an infinite mathematical hierarchy to make sense. It dynamically fixes its own contradictions straight from the inside out.
So, the crucial point we need to make here is that the MU principle isn't just acting as some kind of terminating algorithm that checks for logical consistency. Rather, it proves that the pure syntactic stability of reality completely overrides any limitations you'd find in abstract formal systems. We've probably all heard of Gödel's incompleteness theorems and mathematical undecidability, which prove that formal systems have inherent limits, right? Well, MU shows us that reality simply is not in conflict with those limits. The ultimate guarantor of consistency isn't some math equation. It's the undeniable brute force stability of perceptual reality itself. Reality doesn't care about abstract undecidability because it validates itself.
To put that into perspective, the stability of reality affirms its consistency entirely regardless of whether any lesser mathematical theory happens to be perfectly consistent. The universe's self-resolving nature makes it supremely, unfathomably stable. So all our formal, mathematical frameworks, as incredibly brilliant and useful as they are still entirely secondary to the fundamental, self-enforcing stability of existence itself. Reality is the ultimate baseline.
Which leads us to a profound final thought to leave you with today. If reality guarantees its own stability through paradoxical dual self-containment, meaning you logically and descriptively contain the rules of the universe just as much as the physical universe contains you, what does that actually mean for the boundaries of your own mind? I really hope this explainer has sparked some serious curiosity for you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and keep questioning the deeper structure of everything around you.